Tim, thank you so much. And I want to get to all your foundational work. I do not want to run out of time and not talk about the incredible things that you three are doing. But, you know, if folks were at the plenary yesterday, they talked about during the Catholic Church scandal, the absolute effects of the media and how important it is to get the media involved in these types of stories. And I want to you talk to the group a little bit about your experience with the University of Virginia, just so some folks know, when this tragedy happened at UVA, which, by the way, we talk about prevalence, so we talked about the Halloween shooting. What did Tim immediately mention? Pulse. Jeff can go over all the shootings at Florida State. And we all probably remember Virginia Tech. I'm not sure the Virginia Tech shooting that occurred. So after this UVA shooting, where 3 men lost their lives, 2 others were injured, $1.5 million was given to 2 law firms to do an investigation into how this happened. Did that threat assessment go right and everything like that? And the university did not give it to the families right away. And more importantly, and Happy, I want you to talk about, they didn't share it with the University of Miami, the University of Washington. What did they learn that could prevent this at Austin Peay or Texas or Broward Community College and every other university that has dorms in the United States, because this individual was allowed to have a gun on the University of Virginia's campus? They knew about it, and they didn't do anything. Happy, if you could talk before we get to all the great work you guys are doing. Just a little bit about that frustration, not only of not cooperating you, but not entering into UVA as the leader. We know what happens. Let's help other kids prevent this.
So my initial fight with UVA was we presented them with a bunch of reforms. So we're like, okay, we have this platform, and we can use this platform, and we can go ahead and create a protocol that will save others. We can send it to all these universities and use it. I mean, it doesn't have to be, we can tweak it a little bit if we need it, but there's something needs to be in place. 3 years later, they got nothing. They have made some changes, slight changes, but in my case, a student liaison team, so there was there was a tip saying that this young man had a gun on campus. They sent a student liaison team to the dorm room of this person. He did not cooperate. That was the end of the story. How this could have been prevented. But they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. The university did not know what to do. On the night that everything took place, Deshaun and I were on the phone. We were on the phone. He was telling me about because they had just left D.C. He had gone to see the Emmett Till play. And he was telling me about everything. They went to a restaurant in D.C. He had Ethiopian food. He was telling me what he had, and it was delicious. And I can hear the music in the background. And he said, we're passing McHugh, which is the athletic center. My car is in the garage. My phone is going dead. I'll call you right back. And that was at 10:17 p.m. I said, I love you, son. I'm very proud of you. He said, I love you, Mom. And those were my last words to my baby. And the Twitters, social media had more information than I had. I'm calling, nobody's calling me. I got no calls from anybody, any university official, any police, nobody. And they sent out a hotline. I called the hotline number, no information. I know there's only one hospital in Virginia, which is the VA hospital. I called there. she told me she couldn't give me any information without his HIPAA, and she hung up on me. So I'm trying to get the HIPAA information to get back to the hospital. I'm in Miami. I've already booked my flight to get to Virginia. My flight was canceled. Why? Because the perpetrator was still on the loose, and there was a stay-in-place order for Charlottesville. So, still nothing from the university. Nobody called me. And then I would say about 3 in the morning, I get a call from the head coach saying that my son was still unaccounted for. Okay, you're the head coach. I need somebody else to tell me where he is. His car had moved because I was changing his car because I had the Apple AirTag in his car. His car hadn't moved. His cell phone hadn't moved. There was nothing. And then I finally got the call that he didn't make it. I said, and my question to her was, what's next? Well, we're going to send the private jet to come pick you guys up from Florida. They flew us into Richmond, Virginia, and gave us a phone number to the coroner's office. Told us that we're free to eat whatever we wanted to eat at the hotel, and they left us there for 3 days. Of calling, my son had already been transported from Charlottesville to the medical examiner's office in Richmond, Virginia. My question was, why is my son not in the hospital? Who next to kin identified this body? And why, y'all told me you guys were sending the plane for me. So you know I was coming, so why is he not in the hospital? Who identified this body? And they said, oh, we found his ID in his pocket. So from then, I had no words for him. No words. 3 days of lies. 3 days of lies until they told me that the state attorney said that because of the mass the shooting, she would not open the bag so that we could view these bodies. She's not going to open the bag. That's what she told me. And that's how we were treated more so as the perpetrator. And it's like all of our rights were taken away. And it's like we don't have rights. And to this day, we feel the same way. And so with the reforms and with the fight, there's something on the other side. And I promise, like, my fight is to make sure that if I can save one person, then I've done my due diligence.
And you have. And I think that's something we heard yesterday about that things are safer. And I think when we look at the news and we look at the stats, they're not good, but there are preventative things going on that are working. And we only have about 8-9 minutes left. You guys have been incredible. And what I love about this, and I hope everybody appreciates it, you're talking about what we can learn and how we can be better and how our communities can be better. What I would say to our community is learn from you three. Because what I want to get to, and you're going to have to be somewhat brief, is how you've turned this absolute tragedy into purpose. I'd like each of you, I think we probably got about 6-7 minutes left, or about 10, to talk about what you've been doing, how you got the inspiration to do what you're doing, and how everybody here maybe can help. So Tim, maybe I'll start with you and what your foundation is doing and how you got that inspiration. But I might have to cut you off in 3 minutes because we got to get to the other two.
In a nutshell, we started Intel Forever, which is intelforever.org, in an effort to bridge the gap between need-based funeral expenses, therapy, meal train, anything that a family that had a loss like we did went through unexpectedly. I think people don't understand when these are children, and I think anyone below 40 probably should really look into this. Most people don't. They don't have wills. You don't plan for this. No one has money for a funeral for a child. GoFundMe's can work, and they can also fail. It just depends on your network and who you associate yourself with. We did very well because my son went to 2 very large schools, high school and college. We were very well networked. Spent significant time in 3 different places in the world. I'd like to say I had an impact at every one of them, so we did very well at that. But some people didn't have that luxury. So Until Forever is there to help pay, again, funeral expenses, which we're in contact with the families. I grew up just south of Minneapolis. So that is our first endeavor. We just started this in February. We're getting funds in. We've got a few good companies, some family members that have donated, including all our founders, my wife, my mother. And our first endeavor when this came out, we knew we had to put whatever was in the bank to help these children's funerals in Minneapolis, where I grew up just miles away. And the reason we started this is because my son's whole mission in life was to help people. He did very well at it. He made all of his friends highlight tapes in soccer. Some went on to play college, some went on to play national team, and some are playing professionally, all kids that he knew. So it's the least we can do for him, get his word out there. He's helping people from up above.
It's awesome. Can you give us a website? Or is it
Intelforever.org. You'll see the whole story and mission statement and everything about it.
Jeff, talk to us about Moore's Voice and what you all have been doing and what you continue to do.
Certainly, the inspiration came quickly. My wife and I, late wife and I now, we just felt our voice telling us we needed to do something about prevention, because from the beginning it was obvious, as with so many of these tragic events, that it was preventable. And given that she was at Florida State, we knew people, major state university, we were introduced to faculty who were working on things around hate crimes and incel subculture, and so our thought was, let's create and found Mars Voice Research Fund at Florida State, and it's designed to better understand the motivations, the pathways to violence of these perpetrators, and try to prevent them as early on as possible, but also to learn and recommend best practices to whatever stage that person of concern, as they call them, whatever stage they are, that the protocols are there to take appropriate action. That's through faculty and grad students in the College of Social Work, School of Criminology there, psychology. We have a partnership with the Anti-Defamation League for research and investigations of people who are potentially violent. And there's a continuum, and this is kind of a rough thing to say, but with law enforcement, that you have these people, they're a graph, okay, and over here, I'm seeing this in my mind, is what happened tomorrow, and they call that bang. And our focus is to do research, support policy that can be enacted so these people are kept to the left of bang. Because at some point, if there isn't some sort of intervention, it's going to happen. Those of you who are survivors, you know that is the focus, in summary, of Mars Voice, to do our part to contribute as much as we can to that body of knowledge.
And you've done it. It's been incredible the last couple of years watching it. And Happy, tell us about some of the events that you are having for folks back home in Miami.
So I started Deshaun Emir Perry Foundation on behalf of my son. What I didn't know is that him and his friends had already started in 2022 to get together a Christmas bike ride. So when he was coming home that December, they would always get together and have something, whether it was, buy toys and go around the neighborhood and give away toys. Well, this year they had saved up all their stipends and they were going to do a bike drive. So when things happened in November, one of his friends came and he said, I know this is rough, but are we still going to do the bike drive? And I said, yeah. And it went from there. And then I want to say January, I was driving down the street and there was a little boy riding a bike and he was flagging down my car. So I was like, what's going on? Are you okay? He said, just tell Mr. Deshaun Perry I said thank you for my bike. And that was it. And from then on, it's been full-fledged, and that's what we're going to do.
The audience wants to know, are you going to let me coach at the football camp this year or not? So, Dr. Reingo, I sit in awe of these families every time. And I know that everybody's path and journey is different when they go through something as tragic as this. How do you at the center, and how should folks, when they're dealing with survivors who want to go down this path? The NCVC just had their first Advocate Academy this week, that folks who want to get into this fight, into this purpose after tragedy, what advice can you give everybody out here when they deal with survivors that want to go down this path? How do you counsel and try to make that happen if it's the right journey for them?
Yeah, I heard from all these wonderful individuals about the importance of creating meaning, right, out of tragedy. We're not always going to find what makes sense about what happened, but we can possibly find meaning and purpose and connection to loved ones through those actions. And I think that is, as part of a healing journey, because it's always a journey, that is, I think, what gets people up in the morning, right? Is that connection, that meaning, doing things in honor of, is really important. So that meaning making and hope. So the kind of words of hope, right, is really important. How we can foster that. And that looks different from everybody. It doesn't have to be creating an organization. It could be simple acts of kindness to others, but it's helping each individual figure out what is that way of creating that sense of meaning and connection in life that's different now. And so I think that's, as providers, we just walk alongside that. It's not up to us to determine either, right? But it's helping create, hopefully, a safe environment to be able to allow somebody to figure that out and support that journey.
We only have about 5 minutes left. We have a number of questions. What I'm going to do is maybe somebody from the panel can pick out an answer, and we'll try to get to these with one answer each. And this is obviously from a provider. I often want to ask the family to tell me about their loved one, but I'm afraid that it would be inappropriate of me. Is there a best time to approach this with the family, to really learn about a loved one? Anyone want to take that on? Happy?
I would say give us some time, and it'll all come out. The initial feeling is just shock. So it's kind of overwhelming when people keep coming to you in the initial realm of what's going on. Give us some time, and I think the presentation will come out a little bit better than it would if we felt like we're being bombarded.
This is from a prosecutor. What are early intervention strategies you have learned and can share with us so we can help prevent this horrific violence? That might be best to you, Jeff.
Yeah, if someone shows up, the first thing is, obviously, if you're concerned, they need to be reported, and there need to be mechanisms. If you don't know what that mechanism is, people can feel lost. I'd say turn first to their police jurisdiction. But because, I mean, the best practice is for law enforcement to go talk to them. I mean, that's the best practice. Go talk to that person of concern. And I have talked to some, said, well, you can't, we get all these calls if somebody's dangerous, that they have to be addressed. Because out of 100, whatever, one of them, is certainly going to be. So best practice is that you want to encourage whoever, law enforcement, often they have behavioral officers, they take on these, and certainly in this state, in large jurisdictions, but others as well. I know in Atlanta they do. And the people who are of concern, and almost all these mass shooters, goes back, red flags, we said, oh, yeah, we're not surprised we did that. So somebody reach out and start talking, start learning, start gathering information about them, and that information needs to be retained, and then it needs to flow through the system. It needs to be out there for wherever determine where that person is, where they might go. Those pipelines are there, and that information needs to stay in the process so that there's at least an opportunity when they go down that pathway, they're there, about them. That gives you the ability to intervene at the right place.
We are out of time. We have 3 more pages in the outline. We have 7 more questions from the audience, but we're not going to be able to get to them. I hope that this has been helpful for you all, and I hope we've accomplished our goal. And one thing I'd ask of the audience, I have the incredible privilege to represent these 3 families. I am in all of them every day. I would just ask all of you to stand and recognize them for their incredible work. Thank you all so much for attending, and just with that message, let's bring this hope and this inspiration to do better. Thank you all very much.